Introducing Tundra Football League.
FTFLers to yet another of the longest running weekly episodic fantasy football update show. That is right, it is the FTFL Weekly Update. I am your host and owner of the still first place, not only in the North, but the power rankings as well, Hulkamaniacs. I am the one, the only, the true king of the FTFL, and as I've been saying all year long, if you listen closely, as you lay your head down to sleep at night, you'll hear it deep down in your heart. That's right, I am the song. It is I, Brett, and we are now 8 weeks down in the season. 5 weeks to go. Count them, 5. And even with that, no one, despite their best efforts, is out of the runnings yet. Not a single soul. Everyone is in it. Now, along with everyone being in it, boy, oh boy, things are tightening up. Again, there was a little bit of separation, and now we find us, not just in the North, but in the South as well, teams tied for first place. Some great games this week that led to those outcomes. One of the teams that is not in first place, but is definitely seemingly wanting to tell us that he's on his way, because not once, not twice, not 3 times, but now 4 times, Sid Hagen has declared he's back. He's back, baby. And not only is he back, in the standings, he's back to spending all sorts of cash, just dollars flying out the pocket. Keep it up, Sid. I got plans for that money, so spend away, my friend. Now, this week, Sid was involved in not 1, not 2, but 3 trades. In the first one, you know what? I'm going to save that one because there's a bit of specialness to it. He, in a trade we're about to talk about, acquired Jared Cook. He then promptly turned around, traded Jared Cook and a 3rd-round pick to Andy, who has done everything in his power to tank this season and is going to show up on the toilet seat because of it. He got rid of Cook in his 3rd. In return, he got a questionable running back, Joe Mixon, and a 15th. Now, Mixon is hurt. Sid is trading for a hurt running back. This is not the first trade that Sid has been involved with this season involving a hurt running back. No, earlier he was switching out his hurt running back with Andy. That's right. Sid and Andy have exchanged hurt running backs this season. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Sid wasn't done, though, and in what is an unprecedented move, Matt made a trade. I didn't go back and look, and I should, and we're kind of running thin on the stats department recently. Matt was involved in a trade, maybe for the first time ever. Sid acquired Terry McLaurin, who was the darling of last year's draft. We finally got him in the lineup. I was excited. And a 9th-round pick, and Matt got Antonio Gibson and a 7th. Matt bolsters his running backs. Sid bolsters his receivers for what we can only assume is his next loss, because he's won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1. But the trade that set this all in motion is the one that I really think was the absolute most ridiculous trade of all time. Now, to talk about this and the rest of the games this week, I have a special post-Halloween treat, if you will. However, it may be more of a trick when all is said and done. I'll probably regret this decision about 28 seconds into it happening. However, for the first time in recent memory, the FTFL Weekly Update is going to have a co-host. Let me slide on over and welcome to the show the owner of the, very briefly, first place Radioactive Monkeys, Adam Saltmarsh.
Woo!
Yeah, how are you doing? Careful, careful.
Yes.
Settle down.
I'm doing good.
All right, so now, thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here tonight.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, excellent. Now, the trade that Sid was involved with Swart, I wanted to just lead off with, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Because I truly believe it is the dumbest trade we've ever had involved. Even dumber than Marx's kicker trade from last year. And they'll tell you it wasn't about the kicker, but there was a kicker involved, which I thought, that's what makes it stupid.
But kickers win games.
Well, and we've seen from John that keeping kickers sometimes leads to successful seasons. So in this ridiculous trade that involved not one, not two, Sid is all about the numbers, might I add, not three, but four. Four tight ends involved in one trade. Long ago, Matt just wanted to know if you could flex a tight end. I mean, now, could you get a room full of tight ends and do something with them? That is what Sid and Swart are attempting to do. Now, Swart in this trade got Harrison Bryant, who I've never heard of, and Trey Burton and a 6th-round draft pick, and in return gave up to Hagan, Jared Cook, Hayden Hurst, and a 14th-round pick. So sure, Sid got the better tight ends. or at least according to maybe his wife. I don't know. Swart definitely gave up the tight end. There's probably something there too.
Yes.
It was a lot of silliness. It made no sense. I don't. Your thoughts on this trade?
But okay. Tight ends, yes, they're valuable. Mm-hmm. You need them. You have to have a spot for them.
Yeah, you do.
Or you're incomplete.
Mine is a bum, but anyways.
Right, but okay, you're looking at Hurst, right? 57 points he has on the season.
Okay.
57. That's it.
Well, but for tight ends, where does that rank?
That's number 3.
Exactly. So. But
I think you get more value of other places in a wide receiver, a running back, over a tight end right now.
Right?
I mean, the top tight end, Kelsey, right now is 94 points into it.
Yeah, number 2 is Greg Kittle, and we're going to talk about him. Sorry, George Kittle.
George.
I'm going to probably call him anything else but his name because I'm a little upset with him right now. But yeah,
and he's sitting at 60 points.
He is. I do have the number 6 tight end on my team, but again, we're getting way down the line here. So super bizarro trade. Lastly, before we get into this, I mentioned Matt was involved with the trade. Matt also has been showing up on the chat board this year. He straight up owned John. I'm assuming, John, that you knew you had an open roster spot along with Gunnar Olszewski, which is almost like an open roster spot. And so, Matt, I applaud. I mean, not only have you avenged 2 70-point losses, but you are involved in the chat room. You are involved now in the trade game. And, oh, by the way, your team is tied for first place.
You're right. So my question to Matt is, what does it take to trade with you? Because I've been trying to do this for years and have not been successful.
Well, he wasn't interested in any of Hagen's tight ends, and so
maybe I should flex a tight end.
Maybe if you were to have a tight end, he would get excited about that. Speaking of tight ends and letdowns, on to the first game of the week.
Here we go.
The 5-2 North Division leading and really the most dominant team in all of the FTFL, Hulkamaniacs, coming to take on the Ryan Deesman fantasy football team at 4-3. Now remember, I was 2-19. Sorry, yeah, 1-19 all time. 1-18 all time against Deesman. Last year, finally, I break through and I get a victory. And so I'm like, you know what?
Here we go.
The brand new next 20 years of the FTFL, I am going to dominate. That abruptly ended this week with a 117-106 loss. I got buzzsawed. I got straight up buzzsawed. Patrick Mahomes, 46 points. My question, though, is this. Why, in God's name, were they still throwing the football when you were up big on the Jets? There is no room for a 46-yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill as Patrick Mahomes' 5th touchdown of the game. There's no room for this garbage.
There's not.
How much do they hate Clyde Edwards-Helaire that you are just not handing him the football and you are throwing deep passes?
Oh, I think we'll get to him a little later here.
We are going to get to that later.
But yeah, 46 points from Mahomes.
Now, oddly enough, that doesn't even crack the top 20 for all-time greatest performances in the FTFL history.
Not even the top 20.
Nope. I mean, it gets real tight. Remember, Matt Flynn, greatest of all time, 60 points. But 46 is a heck of a week, and it was enough to definitely push him to victory. Travis Kelce, 16. Allen Robinson, 13. Tyler Boyd, who has been a very pleasant surprise, very consistent surprise for Deesman, 13. His running back, Darrell Henderson, 2.5. Kareem Hunt, 5. Really not much there, but, again, because of Mahomes, it didn't matter. For me, DK Metcalf continues to be dominant, 32 points. Aaron Rodgers in a slightly off week, and yes, a loss to that stupid shirt that you're wearing. He didn't lose to the shirt.
Sorry.
He lost to the team that it represents.
Okay.
He did put up 22 points. Alvin Kamara, 14.5. Might I add, leads the league from yards from scrimmage. This was the 3rd straight week, though he has not scored a touchdown. Our league in the FTFL is all about touchdowns. Kamara really not helping out much there. James Conner, 11.5. George Kittle. 3.
3 points.
Let me tell you about George Kittle. And later, Tevin Coleman. You are all part of the team, not a player this week, but an entire team that is being deemed the winner of the Wet Paper Sack of the Week award. Nice. My God, the San Francisco 49ers, I don't know if you're paying attention to this, because of their injuries, because of COVID, not a single player on their offensive side of the football from the starting lineup in the NFC title game, just mere months ago against the Packers, not one player in that starting lineup for the Niners will play tomorrow night.
Because of COVID.
And everything else that's
involved. And how awesome they are.
George Kittle, 3 points, out for most likely the rest of the season. Although I have Tyler Hawkinson, who was on the bench, 7.5. The 6th overall tight end, not a bad fill-in.
So if you would have switched Mike Evans with Lockett and, your tight end, you would have won.
I know. Well,
you're relying on the Seahawks a little too much, in my opinion.
Well, but I'm 5-3. So.
You are 5-3. Let's roll on to the next game.
All right, so next game, oddly enough, is your game. Coming in at 4-3, the Radioactive Monkeys taking on Mana, 3-time Lucky Pants champ Mana at 4-3, the Old Log Cabin Bowl. Again, both teams jostling to keep pace in their respective divisions. Only one of these came out of that with that position, and it is Jeff Marksher, who now is in a tie for first with me, 113 to your 79. Jeff Marksher, leading scorer Justin Herbert, as he's been trying to find a quarterback, he finally found someone that Herbert's been throwing the lights out of the thing. His team hasn't been winning, but we don't get points for wins here in the FTFL. Robert Woods, 21.5 points. He's the number 8, quietly the number 8 receiver in football. Like, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, he runs the ball, he catches the ball, he is heavily utilized. And let's be clear, in some ways, this is his second act. He started in Buffalo.
He did.
And he came to L.A. as kind of somewhat of an afterthought, has really turned into a very solid performer for Jeff. Will Lutz, 17. The Pittsburgh defense, who has also been dominant this season at 16 points. Darrell Waller, only 2.5 on the bench. He's averaging 8 points a week, but it didn't matter because... You were missing your top two big guns.
I was missing my two guys.
Right?
My two main guys. But you know what? I thought Tom Brady was going to pull through for me.
He pulled out.
Yeah, he did. They still won the game. Barely.
Against the Giants. Come on, Packers.
Yeah. Shame. But, for Gruley, I wish he had more than 8 points. I was hoping 16 out of him. Yep. Maybe 15.
Well, he's broken down and old.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? He's still plugging away.
Uh-huh. Well, but the big problem for you this week, you were missing Stupid Face Jr. Kyler Murray had a bye. James Robinson in his hot tub had a bye. So there was a bunch of zeros right there that just in past weeks they have carried your squad. On the bright side, Michael Gallup finally showed up. He had 8.5 points over the first 4 weeks for you sent your trade. This week he got 7.5. Almost doubled his production in 1 week. You had Philip Lindsay on the bench. Explain.
Okay, yes. Concussion protocol.
But he cleared it.
He did. Yeah. But I didn't know for sure he was going to be playing.
Okay.
Set him on the bench.
I mean, it wouldn't have necessarily helped. However, it does sound like his time in Denver is they're going to start giving him the ball more. Right. They're seeing more out of him. Melvin Gordon's time might be coming to an end, which of course will make Eric sad, but not as sad as his performance this week.
True.
The Pack Attack, who for, again, a hot minute had the lead in the South Division, the very competitive South Division. Again, I did not mention at the top of the show, we find ourselves 8 weeks in, nobody in the South is under 500.
Right. Amazing.
None of you.
Amazing.
That's because we got some real sandbags in the north. Anyways,
woo!
Eric, coming off of his lowest point total of the season, a win against Ryan Deesum, says, you know what, I can do better. And he drops his total this week to 62 points. Of course, not anything at all respectable. John didn't blow it out the box either, but did just enough. 89 points for Lincolnwood, 62 for the Pack Attack. Now, John, after trading away Derrick Henry,
which I thought was weird,
to say the least, because you're 3-4, you're in the hunt. 1 week later, he's 4-4. He's a game out of first place, and he's having to play Ronald Jones, the second, and Jonathan Taylor, who are both serviceable. Taylor did ding up his ankle. Both of them didn't really have great weeks this week. Really, for John, I kind of look at his team. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is the stud right now. 28 points for him. 15.5 points for Marvin Jones, who hasn't seen a whole lot of action this year. Goff, 12. Kupp, 11.5. Gronk, 10. In weeks, the first 5 weeks, Gronk had 10 combined points. Weeks 6 through 8, 35 points.
And I don't know if his points are going to get better as the weeks go on because you got Antonio Brown coming in there.
Right.
Godwin's going to be healthy again.
Hey,
what's going to happen in Tampa Bay?
Good news, because Tom Brady doesn't like throwing to Mike Evans. However, he found him this week.
He did,
again,
for 10.5 points.
Which would have been better than, like you pointed out, Tyler Lockett. So John is in this weird place. I mean, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
But let's go back for last year. I was 1-4. I was 1-4.
1-4.
And I was still scratching to get to the playoffs. And I did.
And you did.
I didn't quit.
So wait, you're saying in the last week of the season, when you had a shot at the playoffs, you didn't try to tank?
I did not.
Huh.
Integrity.
Because that happened,
Honesty.
didn't it?
It did.
That was, remind me, who was that? That was Jeff.
Jeff.
That was Jeff. Yeah.
Jeff.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the integrity of the league right there.
Eric's 4-game winning streak is now over. Russell Stupid Face Wilson cooked up another great meal that all of us, I'm sure, will feel ill after eating. 32 points for him.
You give him a lot of crap, but yet you need him to make your team look good. Explain.
You know what? Juju Smith had 7.5
Juju
points.
Smith, there we go.
Devontae Parker, 6.5, caught Tua's first touchdown. By the way, Tua Tagovailoa, or however you say his name, I'm really not all that sold, and I think the Dolphins, who seemingly are moving in good directions in every facet of the game, I don't know if there's any real reason you had to throw them out there. No. But they did. Amari Cooper, half point, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Was he a first-round draft pick?
In a week. And yes, he was.
Oh, he was, okay.
When Aaron Jones didn't play. In a week, when James Robinson didn't play, you got to be thinking to yourself, this was his moment where he was going to pick up points in the chart. But that's why we have the chart.
Let's look at this chart.
3.5 points for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
3.5 points.
Meaning he barely got out of the 60s. He is now at 70.5 points. Aaron Jones, 85 still after 2 consecutive weeks. And now we're looking at maybe 3 this week. James Robinson, still the leader in the clubhouse, 95 points. Will you do the honors, please?
Yeah, I will. And by the way, Robinson, how did he get acquired, by the way?
I believe that you got lucky and picked him up off the scrap heap.
Oh, yeah, the waiver.
The waiver wire.
Not even
Let's not
drafted.
pretend it was any sort of like insight. You were desperate for a running back.
I was.
And you hit. So, all right, so we now are at the part of the show where we're going to take a little bit of a break, and I felt, you know what, it was election week. And what better time than election week to finally settle the debate? Julio or Deontay?
Ooh.
Who is the better receiver? I give you the FTFL's great debate. All right, so the other night we sat down to have the great debate, Julio versus Deontay, and the sound didn't record. So I'm going to do my best to recreate exactly what happened that night when these two, look at my crown, it's right there, it says I'm the king. Yes, but I have a bicep that's bigger than your crown. All right, fellas, listen, so we've been going back and forth for a few weeks and over who is the better receiver, Julio or Deontay Johnson. Of course, Julio now has beaten Deontay 2 out of the 3 weeks, but apparently this fight is still not over between the two of you. Now, there was one other little caveat this week between you and your matchup that Swart, if you lost, you were going to have to tell Sid just how great his team is, and we'll get to that at the end. But for now, I want to hear about Julio Jones and why you think he is the better receiver. So go ahead, anytime you're ready. All right, well, thank you for giving me the floor. I am more than excited to talk about this. Julio Jones, he is probably my favorite receiver in the whole NFL. He is not a girly man. Now, he plays on the same team as Todd Gurley, but that's different. He is not a girly man. All right, so he's not a girly man. What else do you have to tell us? I'll tell you whatever I want to tell you. Just quiet now. Wait. So he has lots of touchdowns. He has more touchdowns than Deontay Johnson. Okay, so anything else to add to that? Is there other things? Yes, there are other things. He has more catches. He has more fantasy points. I don't understand. There's really even not an issue. All right, well, you do make some valid points here. Yes, well, I've got more things than that. I can talk forever. I don't know what else you want me to say about Julio, because really anyone who is not wearing some child blanket and some crown they stole from a restaurant is smart enough to know the difference. All right. So what you're saying is Julio is by far the best. best, yes. All right, so the best receiver, by far the best, yes, that's what I said. Okay, so he's better, yes, he is. Then Deontay, hold on, now I'm going to try to talk. I'm still talking, quit cutting me off. I'm trying to just make sure we got all the points across here, because, of course, Sid also gets to talk now about Deontay Johnson and why he thinks he is a better receiver than Julio Jones. I'll tell you how he's a better receiver. Stop talking. I'm tired of listening. No, you listen to me. It's my turn to... Hey, you know what? Just let him talk. Yeah, I'm going to talk now. Julio Jones is a heel. Adam Swart is a heel, too. Yeah, that's right. I'm the baby face. I'm the king. I have this curtain rod that I took out of my kid's bedroom. I hope it's not too bright outside with the street lights because they're not going to be able to sleep. But that's beside the point. Deontay Johnson, he's better. He's better than Julio. He's a better quarterback. Everything he does, he's not better. He does not have a better quarterback. His quarterback is garbage. You're garbage. Deontay Johnson, he's the best, and I think he's better, and I'm telling you right now, and as the king... All right, stop talking. You're the king. Everyone gets it. Fine. No, you will listen, because you are a royal subject of mine, and everyone needs to grovel at my feet when I am talking. That's right. I made this... Stop talking now. I'm tired of listening to this crown that you made. Where did you get it? What child made it for you? You know what? Mr. Swart, please let him finish. Yeah, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish every one of you because I'm back, baby. I'm better than ever. You're not better than anyone. Well, I beat you. I'm better than you. That's actually right. And Adam Swart, he does have a point. He did beat you this week, and the bet, of course, was that whoever won had to then have the other team say that they were better than them. And so, Adam Swart, you do now need to say that you were better. Sorry, that Sid is better than you. We're waiting. All right, well, so you're better only because I gave you Dalvin Cook. That's not saying you're better at all. That's ridiculous. You do that again or off with your head. I'm not going to stand for that. No, you're better than me. I said that, but only because I gave you Dalvin Cook. I took him from you like I take everything. I'm the king and I rule this place. I'm the best person ever. You are not the best person. You just happen to beat me this week. It's terrible. Just stop talking. I'm not going to stop talking till I'm done. You see this hat? It says King of the FTFL. All right, well, there really is only one true person here that is the best, and of course that is me, because I have the best team, and the other two are just chasing me, and so that is how we will end this debate. Thanks for being a part of it. All right, so after listening to their debates and hearing good Lord, I felt like Chris Wallace sitting in the middle of that one. I just could not get them to separate. But now that they're both gone, I can talk about the game that really led to that final declaration that Swart had to make. The king, again, he loses, he wins. He loses, he wins. He loses, he's back. Every time he loses, he's back.
Is
126
he back?
points.
Is he back?
Well, for now... the king of the FTFL, 126 points, coming in there at 3-4. Of course, taking on the DSM award-winning visitors from Planet B with questionable motives. They were coming in at 2-5. They are now 2-6 as they only mustered 75.5 points this week. If you're Sid, it's all about Dalvin Cook and the wet paper sack that is the Green Bay Packers rush defense. Good Christ, you knew it was coming, yet you still either couldn't or chose not to stop it. It was really infuriating. 43 points.
43 points.
That's a lot for a running back. That's a lot for anybody. For a running back in particular. Not to be outdone, though, the Eagles' defense, 21, which a defense in the 20s is a really... Sport, you had that last week, remember? And then you lost. Anyways, that was an aside. Ryan Suckup, 17. Tannehill, 16. Deontay, not a real good week for him this week. Half point. That's not great. Calvin Ridley, 3.5 points and got injured. I don't know. I haven't heard word on him whether or not he'll be back this week or not. If you're Swart,
what are you going to do?
Well, I think this paints the picture real well. When your leading scorer of the week is Giovanni Bernard.
That's shocking.
Yeah, well, there's really not much more. I mean, that's more than Julio Jones.
17.5 points.
That's more than Drew Brees. That's
16.
More than keeper Kenny Golladay, who had 0. That's more than Le'Veon Bell, who he traded for, who had 3.5 points. 17.5 for Giovanni Bernard.
Who would have thought?
Yet he could not rally the troops. You are 2-6 and well on your way
For a reason.
to an early draft pick. Lastly, a team that has had his fair share of early draft picks over the last several years. The Architect coming in at 4-3, taking on the Mixin Cocktails at 1-7. That's right, 1-7. Remember, the worst record coming off a championship was 4-9. At this point, Andy, actually, he was coming in at 1-6. 1-6.
1-6. Now he's 1-7.
But he's now 1-7.
Yikes.
Architect only 71.5 points, but it was still enough to beat Andy at 57.5. If you're Matt, Devontae Adams 23.5 points. Carson Wentz, who even in all of these defeats, and granted they did beat the Cowboys, but let's be clear, I think the local high school team would give the Cowboys a run for the money at this point. He has been productive. 16. Travis Fulgham 13. Everyone else was at 6 and or below. For Matt, he now reaches 5 wins on the season. He has matched his win total from last year. For the whole season. He's matched that now. In 2018, he only had 4 victories.
4 wins.
Right. In 2017, he had 7 victories. So we are now well within reach. And Matt, I mean, they got to look at Matt's team. I look at my team. You look at Eric's team. These are 3 teams who over the last handful of years have really struggled.
Been in the bottom of the
What
league.
have I been saying forever about fantasy football?
It's just luck.
And so here you are. Finally, we've pried that horseshoe from the buttocks of Adam Swartz and Andy, and we now have it in our possession. Or do I? Or is there something else at work here? If you're Andy, you're looking for something else because Lamar Jackson had 20, David Montgomery had 7, and then that was it.
Sharp 8.
Tevin Coleman 0 because after 3 plays he was out because he's a San Francisco wet paper sack. That's right. They're not the 49ers anymore. They're the wet paper sacks.
And there was no one on his bench. He had 5.5 points from his bench.
There's nothing on that
there.
team.
There's nothing.
Remember, league champion, reigning defending, best draft grade coming out, 1-7. If that's not decent worthy, I don't know what is. All right, the stud, the dud, the decent. Patrick Mahomes, 46 points in a buzzsaw performance. I'm going to hopefully move on for that and forget it because it was awful. The dud of the week, Andy. 57.5 points. His whole team.
Points.
I am putting George Kittle on that list because let's be clear. 1 week I got like full blow George Kittle. That didn't come across the way I was hoping it would. But 1 week.
Wish I had 1 week for Kittle, but whatever.
And since then, before then and after, a whole lot of nothing. Part of it, I think, the quarterback. Part of it, he hasn't been healthy, and now, of course, he's going to miss the rest of the season. His whole season has been a dud. This week's reason, good God, I can't even talk about it. This week's reason why Adam Swart, thank you, yes, why Adam Swart should get the DSM, we got to go back to the draft. Adam Swart, I don't know if you remember much from your draft because you were there trying to make sure you had all your papers in order, worried that someone was going to hide them, worried your cat was going to open the door. Eric wasn't there to break a vase, but you thought maybe that still might happen. So maybe it was a lapse in judgment. I don't know. But in the second round, you remember who his second round pick was? Do you remember? No, you don't.
No, I don't even remember.
It was Cam Akers.
Oh.
Cam Akers. Is he even on a team right now?
His.
Oh, he's still on sports team.
Still on Schwartz team.
Well, do you have stats in front of you there?
I can get some stats.
Let's see, Cam Akers has really, for a second round pick, has been atrocious.
Okay.
Atrocious. Because my third round pick was Tyler Lockett, and he's the best receiver in football. So
Cam Akers.
where are you going down the list?
Not on the top 32.
Not in the top 32, like overall or running backs?
Overall or running backs.
Oh, top 32. You're not even there. In the top
I'm not even
running
there.
backs. Where is Cam Akers?
Let's go to 100.
Top 100 running back. Is he in the top 100?
What do you think?
I'd hope so. If he's not, that would be stunning. Where's he at? What number? Where are we at? Are we in the... You found him.
I did.
You found him, and he is...
82. He's 82 out of the running backs.
82nd best.
He has 9 points.
9 over the entire season?
Over the entire season.
That is 1 point, I believe, 125 points a week, if my broader math is correct. No, sorry.
1.5. 1.5.
Okay, that makes...
Yep.
No.
1.5. Okay.
No, it's 1.1. What does that say? Oh, because he had a bye, so it's 8.
Yeah,
you know what?
Geez,
Bart's not here. We're going to give it up. Regardless, Swart, that's why you should get the DSIM.
Holy
Let's
cow.
be clear. John could potentially get the DSIM for not having a full roster. Now, wasn't it you a couple years ago that
Probably.
did this? Yes, it was. Eric pointed it out late in the season when
Probably.
you went almost an entire year.
Yeah, only at
with
16.
an open spot.
Yep, one spot just sitting there.
Also,
It's all good.
let's be clear. The front runner for the DSIM is Andy. What a terrible season.
Oh,
It's inexplainable. You are 2 losses away from tying the worst record, 3 from breaking
Ever.
it. With 5 to go, it is within your grasp.
it could happen.
Next week, week 9, it could happen because you will be playing the first place in the South. Will tied Ryan Deeson's fantasy football team coming in at 5-3, taking on the Mixing Cocktails at 1-7. However, some other really good games on the docket next week. Mana, 3-time Lucky Pants, going for a 4th-time champ. Mana coming in at 5-3, taking on Team Linkowitz at 4-4. How great would it be for John to beat Jeff after trading away Derrick Henry and moving himself to 5-4?
Whoa!
That would be a tough pill to swallow if I'm Jeff Markser, but that is what's on the line. Eric, the Pack Attack, 5-3, taking on the Architect at 5-3, and it is for first place in the South.
Ooh.
Not like week 1, you win, you have a share. No. This is week 9.
Yeah.
And these 2 teams
5-3.
are right there at
Right
the
there.
top. The Monkeys are 4-4, taking on the king of the FTFL at
He's
4-4. That's a big one, too, in the South. Again,
Huge.
trying to keep pace with Eric and Matt. And lastly, the Hulkamaniacs at 5-3, taking on Plan B at 2-6. Any parting thoughts you want to share with us before we sign off, Mr. Saltmarsh?
Yes. That was a great debate. I loved it. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. But we'll
They're
get there
both
later.
losers in my book.
Right? Just think about for next year already. Let's just think about it. Let's maybe put this in a new rule. You have to trade at least once
Oh, you want?
before the trade line. Think about that for a little bit. Ponder it in your mind.
All right, and
See what happens.
with that, we'll catch y'all next week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.
Peace.
Sarah, have you seen that magazine I've been carrying around for fantasy football stuff?
No,
Really?
no.
Dang it.